Hey there, good evening. Nice to see you. It's time for the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to reporters, writers, editors, journalists, people who put stuff out so you can kind of get a little insight into what's going on in our beautiful borough of the Bronx. Second segment, we've got a long standing Bronx artist who we are going to talk to. She's got a very interesting display. That she has created. So, we're going to do that in our second segment. But in the first segment, we're going to say hello to Dean Moses, who is with AM New York and the Bronx Times. Dean is outdoors. Nice to see you, Dean.
Thank you so much for having me.
The reason that he's outdoors is because I guess you're downtown now. You're covering a
Yes,
big story. You
yes,
may as well tell us about that.
yes. So it's P Diddy's in court today after being arrested by the feds last night. So he's a lot of press down here. So I'll just come across the street, take the time to speak to you guys while waiting for him to maybe possibly emerge if he's not detained.
Well, who knows what's going to happen? Um, I mentioned to you because I was not aware of it until I spoke to you that you are clearly your accent is not a Bronx accent. So, how'd you get here? What brought you here? And a little bit of background so people could know who you are.
Well, thank you. So currently I'm the breaking news editor at AM New York Metro, and originally I'm from England, Brighton, England, and I actually came 13 years ago, I think now. Actually, the reason I came to America was to get married. I actually met my wife online, and I came to get married. And since then, I started doing primarily photography, and then I sort of got into doing also the writing, and it sort of just spiraled out from there. And now I'm doing both photography and writing every day, multiple stories a day. So,
Wow, that's amazing. The last question on this, and then we do
no,
want to get
please.
to some topical issues. What is it that motivates you about doing this? And now I realize you don't only cover the Bronx. I mean, the Bronx Times is where AM New York's material, gets published. But what motivates you about doing it?
Well, one thing in the photography aspect, I feel like there's a lot of art. There's art, an art overlay there, which I really love a lot, and just being able to tell stories. And honestly, sometimes being able to help people. I've had the fortunate ability through some of my stories. I do some work with homeless individuals, and they've expressed to me that some of my stories have been able to help them find at least temporary shelter. So that being able to help people, it's a big deal.
Yeah, and so you've really been able to help people, and along with being able to do your own creativity. Well, this leads right into the first story we want to talk about. You wrote a piece called "Over and Out: Bronx Police Radio Silenced in Latest Encryption Rollout," as local journalists argue it will hamper New York City crime reporting. This comes on the heels of some journalists being banned from one police plaza. As a journalist, what is your concern about the encryption of police radios?
Well, also just a piggyback off that, I'm actually also working One Piece Plaza occasionally.
Oh,
I'm
that's
also in the
interesting.
shack, so I've seen firsthand that there's definitely some rising tensions as of late. But biggest concern is just public knowledge. I mean, not only just for myself. Sometimes fellow journalists will be like, this is going to affect my job, me personally. But I think the important thing is for people to know it's not going to just affect me doing my job. It's also going to affect the knowledge everybody has. Citizen app, which thousands and thousands of people in New York uses, that often they are aware of stuff through the police radios. So once these channels become encrypted, with what recently happened in the Bronx, they're not going to be notified. So if there's a shooter or a crime in your neighborhood, you might not be aware. Or if there's a police activity in your neighborhood, you may not know what it is. You be able to go quickly online. Journalists will say, "Oh, this is what's happening," but we might not know. So you'll see a police tape, and you're like, "Oh, is somebody hurt? Is it a bomb threat? Is it an active shooter?" You might just not know because of that.
Is this a general thing? I mean, I've been covering the Bronx for a long time, never had a police radio. Do you think people privately do that, and that is an actual factor that the general public would not know what's going on? Or is it more that, in other words, when, God forbid, something happens, there's a fire, you folks, the journalists, can get out there and cover it right away because you know that it's happening? Or is there really a general public aspect to this?
Well, I think the general public aspect comes in regards to finding out through us, the media, especially now with social media, journalists put things out instantaneously. And on top of that, like I said, mentioned Citizen app. There's other apps that people use to know where their loved ones are. So and surrounding their neighborhoods, so they won't know through Citizen app if that's happened. So it will affect them there. And when it comes to people using the radio, that's why the police say they want to go encrypted, because they don't want the general public to listen to the radio out of concern for their officers. Now, I do think that is a valid point.
Yes.
We don't want officers to be in any way, shape, or form, in any danger. However, I do think there's some kind of aspect where there could be a deal be made where journalists or certain individuals do have access to the radios.
Your reporting said the 46, 47, 48, 49, 50th, and 52nd precincts. Interesting, only the North Bronx precincts had it. I can't even begin to strategize why that might be. Maybe the others are going to be done in a little while. I mean, I can't measure that. So do you think, and you've been out there in the streets for enough time to know, do you think that there is a security risk to police officers because the radios are out there? And then I don't know if we would know, but have there been compromises to that security that has caused this? Or, as many people suspect, is this really, the mayor and, of course, the former police commissioner backing off and saying, you know what, we'd rather just do our business and not have review?
So I've spoken to police sources and other journalists, and they seem to feel that the wide consensus is this is just kind of a way to maybe control the narrative a little bit, maybe not have so many negative news articles about crime pop up. However, they do claim, the NYPD does claim that they have found people using police radios maybe in robbery patterns. They say during protests, they hear people using police radios to find out what their plan is. So this is something they claim to be an issue. I don't think it is. I'm not, I don't disagree with that, but I don't think it's as widespread as they tend to make.
I'm curious, and I have no knowledge of this, and I don't know if you know either. Are other municipalities backing off on police radio availability? Or is this really just like, well, New York, we're trying this now?
Well, as I understand, there are other states who have done this. I believe some states have done some kind of compromise where there's been a 10-minute delay. So
that's interesting.
People can listen to it, but maybe they're 10, 15 minutes behind, which something has been, the topic has been broached here, but as of yet, we haven't had any concrete information on that. But as of right now, I believe this is something the NYPD says they have seen done elsewhere, and they're trying to follow up in the same regard.
According to your reporting, the Legal Aid Society told you that they believe this is another step by the Adams administration to sever the need for police accountability and transparency. I mean, that's what they say. I guess we'll wait and see. Is there going to be pushback on this, or this is the way it is, and let's see how it plays out?
Well, there's definitely been pushback on this from many people in the journalism world. Like I mentioned before, there was a hearing a few months ago. A CEO from Citizen App spoke. There's been other journalists like Todd Mazel, who has been really put in the forefront on this, who've been really trying to fight this. But as of right now, the NYPD has been very reluctant to have an open dialogue we'd
Right.
like to see. So I am hopeful that there will be some kind of understanding, because I do believe this is a partnership that the NYPD and journalists have at the end of the day. So I'm hopeful, but as of yet, it's we haven't had much talk on this.
Well, we of course will stay on it, and it will be interesting. There's a new police commissioner. Whether he has free reign, I don't really know. The other story I wanted to talk about with you that you wrote on is the MTA ramping up bus fare evasion crackdowns, and New Yorkers are not thrilled with it. Now, I have to tell you, I've been on a bus and I've seen what we're looking at here is that people slide through the back door, and then and you kind of look at them and say, well, I swiped my card, you didn't do the same. If they're cracking down on people breaking the law, and they're not heavy-handed about it, is there an issue here, or is this listen, we decided to tighten up, I mean, I could understand many riders resentful of people who are riding for free and slipping through the turnstiles and all that when we got to pay. I mean, I don't know. Am I wrong about this?
Well, no, I think the key word you said was heavy-handed. I mean, I've had during that reporting, I've had many people say the same thing you did. I'm sick of people not paying, and some people think it's a good thing. But there's others whose main concern to me was that they are slowing the bus routes down. They're stopping the buses. People are trying to get somewhere. They're going on board.
Oh,
They're checking everybody individually. Have you paid? Have you paid? Have you paid?
is that how? Wait a minute. Is that how they're doing it? They're checking people individually rather
Well,
than
they
catching
what
them in the act.
Yeah, so what they do is the bus pulls into to a stop. Some individuals is called the Eagle Team.
Wow.
They're being accompanied by the NYPD. They go on and they ask people, show us your ticket, show us your ticket. Sometimes if you pay with a debit card, they actually use the device to scan your debit card. People feel that this is slowing down the buses. I've got to get somewhere, so it can take quite a few minutes at a time.
Right. Well, that is certainly legitimate. You did report an incident with a woman who said she was digging in her pockets to find change. The bus driver told her to move along, and the next thing she knows, she's got slapped with a ticket, and it's not nothing. And when you're slapped with that kind of a ticket, it was $100 fine, and et cetera, et cetera. I guess that underscores what you said about the heavy-handedness.
Well, yeah, she was very distraught, and she wasn't the only one to say that. Other people said the bus driver, in an effort to get things moving, told them to come back, and she said while it was riding, she planned on bringing the change up. But an individual who was also in plain clothes, which is what they're doing as well, they have some people who are dressed casually, who actually stopped her because she said she didn't pay. And
Right.
in regards to this too, with the heavy-handedness, with the fare evasion, we also just had on Sunday a police-involved shooting, which involved a fare beater who allegedly had a knife. He was shot with his
Yes,
pen
that's
from
right.
beating the fare. So that's another issue people are having, is
Well,
how forceful our officers are going to be.
yeah, but we're almost out of time. Gun arrests in the subway system, according to your reporting, are up 76.5% this year, which they say is to stopping turnstile hoppers. And, but it's the old story of you stop the small crimes, maybe you can get to the big crimes. Listen, Dean Moses, I know you got work to do, and I thank you. I and we in the Bronx thank you so much for taking the time. Next time we'll see you behind a desk in an office. And
Absolutely.
but your writing is just fantastic, and
Yeah,
it's
that means
so
the world.
important to all of us.
Thank you so
Say
much.
hello to Ethan and all our buddies over there at AM New York and the Bronx Times, and we'll see you around town. Good luck in the coverage today. We'll certainly look forward to what you write about.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Great. Okay, we'll take a short break, and then we'll come back and we'll do that segment I talked about with that artist. Don't go away.